It is my pleasure to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Kaveeta Vasisht, Associate Commissioner for Women's Health and the Director of the Office of Women's Health in the Office of the Commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. She serves as the principal advisor to the Commissioner and other key agency officials on scientific and policy issues relating to the health of women. And under her leadership, OWH works to protect and advance the health of women through scientific programs, policy development, research, education, stakeholder collaboration, and outreach. We have been pleased to support the work of the Office of Women's Health as they work to implement recommendations from the task force specific to research on pregnant women and lactating women, and to further the goals of improving women's health across FDA. Dr. Vasisht has worked to promote the inclusion of diverse populations in clinical trials and the completion of appropriate data analysis that incorporate an understanding of sex differences to facilitate FDA regulatory decision-making. She has served as the clinical expert on multidisciplinary teams in the review and evaluation of scientific data to make regulatory decisions regarding risk-benefit assessments on the safety and effectiveness of therapeutics. In addition, Dr. Vasisht has extensive expertise in policy development and has led multi-stakeholder collaborations nationally and internationally to advance FDA's regulatory mission. She's received several awards for her work to advance women's health, including FDA Commissioner's Special Recognition and Excellence Awards. She is a board certified in both internal medicine and adult endocrinology and holds a Doctor of Pharmacy degree. She completed her internal medicine and fellowship training at the University of Chicago Hospitals, where she also served on faculty. She's a former New Jersey resident, obtaining her medical degree from UMD and J. Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. She holds a Doctor of Pharmacy degree from Rutgers College of Pharmacy, where she was selected to participate in the prestigious honors program and graduated with high honors, and continues to practice medicine in a volunteer clinic. Dr. Vasisht combines her clinical expertise and academic training with her diverse regulatory background to further FDA's mission to protect, promote, and advance the health of women. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vasisht.
Good evening, everyone. That was I wish my kids were here to hear that intro. I don't think anyone's spoken about me that long. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here. Congratulations to our award recipients tonight, Dr. Barfield, Dr. Parikh, and Pfizer for all the incredible work that's been done this year in women's health, and of course to Katie and Joy and everybody at SWHR for what you do and for inviting me to speak today. So I thought I'd begin with a little bit of history. How's the audio? Too loud? Too close? We're good? Thumbs up? Okay. So in the 1930s, products like Lash Lure, an eyebrow and eyelash dye, ended up blinding and maiming women. This led to the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, giving FDA the authority to regulate cosmetics. Similarly, it was after the Dalkon Shield intrauterine contraceptive device causing injuries to many women that Congress passed the Medical Device Amendments. The law, for the first time, gave FDA the ability to require testing and approval of medical devices. And it was when concerns were raised about the quality of mammograms that Congress passed the Mammography Quality Standards Act, signaling that women's health merited rigorous attention, regulation, and research. So much of our increased understanding and knowledge, not to mention the creation of policy designed to protect women and prevent future harm, occurred as a result of often tragic moments in women's health. Through the work of SWHR and many of you here tonight, our understanding of the needs of women and the science underlying critical health issues has matured. Yet, despite females making up more than half of the US population, the need for this kind of work continues. And we too share SWHR's passion to make women's health mainstream. Our office supports research on conditions unique to women and understanding the underpinnings of sex and gender differences in how we experience health, disease, and respond to therapies. The data generated from these efforts informs FDA guidances, policies, and ultimately improves products used by women. Today, our research programs fund studies that utilize innovative tools and methods such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to develop a virtual pregnant model to better understand pharmacokinetics of drugs. We're looking at pharmacogenetics to understand why some breast cancer patients develop cardiotoxicity from certain chemotherapeutics and others don't. And we're utilizing real-world data to fill really important data gaps in lactation, in pregnancy, even in understanding the demographics that put us at risk for COVID. And so as we advance our scientific understanding, we will communicate this information to our stakeholders through our outreach efforts, such as our recently launched Knowledge and News on Women's Health initiative. We recognize the importance of providing you with up-to-date and accurate information. Throughout our office's history, we have also advocated for the inclusion of women in clinical trials and the analysis of trial data by sex. So just this past year, we published a commentary highlighting some demographic data from pivotal trials supporting 231 novel drugs that were approved by our Center for Drug Evaluation and Research between 2015 and 2019. And what the data showed was that for 50% of clinical trial participants globally and 56% of US trial participants that were identified as females, which is actually great progress. We need representation of males and females in clinical trials so that we can recognize clinically significant sex-related differences in efficacy and safety. And our collaborative efforts to get those numbers should continue. But the discussion of representation in clinical trials is not only about numbers. The COVID pandemic has shined a spotlight on health inequities affecting underserved communities and racial and ethnic minorities, further highlighting the importance of increasing the diversity of participants in clinical research. We also aim to raise awareness about the need for representation of women of diverse ages, race, ethnicities, gender identities, and comorbid conditions being in research through our Diverse Women in Clinical Trials campaign, which we partner with the NIH's Office of Research on Women's Health on. And just earlier this month, some of you may know, the FDA published a draft guidance providing recommendations to sponsors developing medical products on potential approaches for developing plans to enroll more underrepresented and racially diverse populations. This is expanding previous guidances that we had put out. So I mentioned earlier that we share SWHR's goal to make women's health mainstream. So my thoughts on how to achieve this remind me of the old adage of protecting women with research and not from research. This is not a new concept. Thank you. Yeah. So this is not a new concept, right? We've heard this before, but now we have new capabilities and rapidly evolving technology that can help us. For example, trials that incorporate decentralization, digital tools, other electronic platforms can ease the burden of participating in research. And holding consent processes and interventions that are more convenient to where patients are and live can make trials more accessible. And to really enroll diverse and underrepresented populations, we need a clinical research infrastructure that's supported at the community healthcare level, at sites where people live and where they receive their healthcare. This is a paradigm shift in clinical research, but we have to meet participants where they are in their trusted communities. And inclusion of women of different ages, races, ethnicities, chronic conditions, premenopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, different geographies and socioeconomic backgrounds really should be at the forefront of our minds in our clinical research efforts. We know, right, that diversity in our clinical trials allow us to make more informed regulatory decisions. This enables the healthcare system to provide more personalized care and ultimately improves health outcomes for all of us. Each one of you in this room tonight have made contributions to women living healthier. So in closing, I want to share one final thought. In the ever-growing field of sex differences, I encourage each of us to continue our efforts on identifying how health, disease, and treatment responses are different for women. And also, I encourage us to sharpen our focus on understanding these differences among women. So I look forward to continuing to work with you in the months and years ahead to achieve our shared goal of advancing the health and well-being for all women. Thank you. Nice talking to you.